So guys, from time to time, we make mistakes. We actually made some pretty big ones here recently when we gave out our perk overview guide. Now, big shout out to Clarity over on Twitter. They actually do a lot of testing within the community, and they actually brought attention to some of the perks that we just flat out got wrong, but also wanted to give some clarity on some of these items, especially since some of these we do have a lot of testing on, and I just wanted to just share our data on this and also address some of the misinformation that was put in that video. Now, that's not to say everything in that video is wrong. There's still a lot of perks we definitely got right, but there were some things that were cut off. And I actually want to start with Hatchling. Precision final blows are rapidly defeating targets with a non-precision weapon, spawns a threadling at a target's location. Now, the non-precision part of this perk description implies that non-precision weapons, that is weapons that don't hit precision damage, will spawn a threadling on rapid kills. Unfortunately, at the time of that recording, this was like a scheduled upload, so it just completely slipped my mind to actually correct this. We did not have any obtainable non-precision weapons that could roll with Hatchling. So at the time, the only way we could actually spawn threadlings was via precision kills. Then the raid dropped. We got the grenade launcher, which could roll with Hatchling. This spawns a threadling on rapid non-precision kills, but it's always going to be just one threadling per shot. So even if you kill a group of 10 enemies with just one shot, you're only going to get one threadling spawn. Now, next up is Kinetic Tremors. Oh, we messed this one up bad. This is exactly why you don't do all your testing in PvP. But Kinetic Tremors, which I mentioned is a very, and I mean very good trait this season, states that sustained kinetic damage to a target emits a shockwave that damages any nearby targets. Now, we really don't have that many weapons with Kinetic Tremors. We've got Battle Scar, we've got Nameless Midnight, and we've got Buzzard, which is coming back this season. But starting with our Pulse. When landing 12 shots, this causes the perk to activate, giving us 3 explosions of 7,895 damage each. Now, for our Scout Rifles, this requires 6 landed shots, still offering us 3 explosions, but here it's actually 9,774 damage. Now, the range here is still the same. The blast is 5 meters, and the closer you get to the center of where the blast is emitting, the more damage you'll be doing. So far, it really does seem like the number of shots required to activate the perk is reliant on which weapons it rolls on. Battle Scar, for instance, is really just 4 shots. It's a 3-round burst, whereas Nameless Midnight took 6 shots. We're gonna have to test and see how Buzzard performs and how many shots is required here, but it does seem like Kinetic Tremors here is different depending on the archetype of weapon you're using. What's also interesting is that the explosion damage from Kinetic Tremors seems to be higher here with Nameless Midnight. So even though it may take more shots, the overall tremor damage is doing much more, which is definitely worth the trade-off. Now moving over to Field Tested. Defeating targets or dealing damage with this weapon gradually increases range, stability, handling, and reload speed. Swords gain increased charge rates and guard resistance, and this is actually a fault of ours because we actually pulled these stat values from LightGG, but now we know that information was incorrect. Here's actually our updated information on at least the reload speed portion. Battle Scar, when we tested it at field test ×1, we actually saw a 5-frame increase. Field test ×2, an 8-frame increase. ×3 was 16 frames, ×4 was 23, and ×5 was 28. Now, the jumps are not as significant on, say, for instance, the grenade launcher harsh language, probably because it's a grenade launcher, but we saw a 3-frame increase at ×1, a 7-frame increase at ×2, and only a 10-frame increase at ×3. Now, moving over to Nanotech Tracer Rockets. Landing multiple hits turns your next shot into a homing micro rocket. Now, we actually heard from you guys, even in the comment section, that the Nanotech Tracer Rockets would actually proc after hitting a set amount of shots. And when confirming this here with Clarity, they actually stated that activation is based on the number of hits, but isn't a fixed amount. Instead, it's a percentage of the base magazine capacity, which is really interesting. For example, the base magazine capacity of Synchronic Roulette SMG is 26, and at 11 shots, you'll proc Nanotech Tracer Rockets, which is roughly 42% of the magazine. Now, if you increase the mag size with the perk or mods, that 42% remains the same. So this SMG, with something like a pendant mag and backup mag, will actually increase the magazine size to 31, but now it's going to require 13 shots to proc Nanotech Tracer Rockets. Now, fundamentally, I don't think this is really going to change the god roll for you, but it's still something nice to know. Now, moving on to Harmonic Resonance. Equipping multiple weapons from this set grants this weapon increased reload speed and handling. It also deals increased damage versus Tormentors, Lucent Hive, and Guardians using their supers. Now, Harmonic Resonance stacks up to ×2 if you have a weapon with the same origin trait in each slot. Now, I do want to bring up the Raid Autorifle Rufus's Fury. We recently just reviewed it. It has a 30 base reload, and it has a 25 frame difference at Harmonic Resonance ×1 and a 41 frame difference at ×2. The Raid Heavy Grenade Launcher, Carax's Distress, at 28 base reload has a 13 frame decrease at Harmonic Resonance ×1 and a 35 frame decrease at ×2. Now, the PvE damage, and we brought this up even in our previous video against Lucent Hive and Tormentors, you see a 3% increase in damage, roughly at least, but a whopping 10% increase in damage at ×2. This is actually really really nice, guys, especially Tormentors, considering like this week's Nightfall, you have to deal with a giant Tormentor. But if you're running things like the weekly campaign missions, you may want to consider rocking these raid weapons to get Harmonic Resonance ×2. Now, inside of PvP, Rufus's Fury Autorifle had a fall-off range of 26 meters, while the target was out of their super. But once the target was in their super, the Autorifle's range increased by about 6 meters to 32 meters, and was dealing 10 crits and 7 body at both Harmonic Resonance ×1 and ×2. Now, Clarity mentioned on Twitter that our testing was most likely incorrect, and that the damage values were just too small, and that they were being rounded. But understand, guys, like, I understand rounding to a degree in Destiny. I completely understand how crazy the rounding can be, but this is not showing any increase at all in damage at PvP. Like, we're not making this footage up. This is real. Now, what it is doing, and this is still pretty crazy, it's buffing the range of our weapons, which I guess is still nice, but it's definitely not like Vorpal or something. We're not getting an increase there in damage versus Guardians and their super, and this is testing with everything: the Autorifle, the grenade launcher, the shotguns. And if there is some rounding here to our values, the Autorifle would have reflected that. We even took the Autorifle, put it on by itself first, then put the other weapons on, procced Harmonic Resonance, and we even tried it against different supers. So all I'm trying to say is right now, the only benefits that we are seeing inside of PvP against other Guardians and their supers is a range bump. Still a nice range bump, but no damage bump. Now moving on to Ambush and Defiant Armory. Now, Defiant Armor greatly improves the benefits of Ambush and other traits. Ambush improves range, handling, and damage against combatants during the opening moments of an engagement. Now, LightGG says that Ambush increases range and handling by +20. In our original testing, we were using Disparity with too high of range, so the range increases were capped out at 100, which is why we weren't seeing any initial changes to damage fall off with the Defiant Armory perk. We then brought out a 60 range Disparity for retesting, and this is actually what we found. With 60 range, we had 38.7 meter base fall off distance. With base Ambush though, this increased to 41.8 meters, and with Defiant Armory equipped, this increased it to 44.6 meters, which is quite significant. So yes, Defiant Armory is working as intended and is essentially doubling the benefits of Ambush, which is really nice. Literally going from 20 range with Ambush to +40 range with Defiant Armory, and then 20 handling from base Ambush to 40 handling as well. These are very nice stat bumps. So again, guys, apologies on this one. These are our clarifications, our research. You also have our testing information right here. Again, I definitely don't want to present misinformation. I do apologize for that, for some of those perks in that video. And that is a very, very big video with lots of different perks. We will be putting a pinned comment on that video, pushing folks over to this video, and just putting up alerts on it. That way people know that those perks were not accurately being defined there in that video. And I'm leaving it up though, because we do have a number of traits in that vid that are right. But with that being said, guys, I do appreciate all of you pointing out where we mess up, where we get things wrong. If at any point something doesn't sound right, always feel free to comment. Let me know down below. And again, we will address it as soon as we can. Fellas and ladies, thank you all for coming and watching. And as always,
slap that like button like your mama told you right.